think when you have a sociopathic disconnect in consciousness in an organization, we're talking about a complete shift in consciousness.
Absolutely. I mean, what we are talking about, I've talked to Monsanto people and former Monsanto people, and it's just amazing what we've discovered. I mean, one former scientist said that his colleagues were doing safety studies on the milk from cows treated with bovine growth hormone. And they said they found the IGF-1 levels, which was linked to cancer, and the three of them stopped drinking milk, unless it was organic. He said other colleagues found there was a result by feeding rodents genetically modified varieties, probably corn, and that instead of withdrawing the corn, they simply rewrote the study to make it look less damaging. I talked to one person who was recruited by Monsanto to be a salesman, and he didn't listen much to the recruiter, but he got inspired by the words of the former CEO of Monsanto, Robert Shapiro, who described how GMOs would help the world and do all sorts of great things. And so when he took the job and had the orientation meeting in the headquarters in St. Louis, he raised this point, praising Robert Shapiro and saying how great it was that they were going to do this. Then at the end of the meeting, he was pulled aside by a vice president who set him straight. He said, wait a minute, what Robert Shapiro says is one thing, what we do is something else. He's the front man that tells the story. We don't even know what he's talking about. We're here to make money.
And that's why I don't think that Monsanto will make that change, even if the market doesn't want it. Because I don't think that this organization has any interest in doing anything that's human, that's of humanity, that's for humanity. They'd have to have a complete restructuring of consciousness to do something different.
They were the ones that told us that PCBs were safe. They're used for lubrication and insulation. And it turns out there are now PCBs in everyone's blood, in the blood of all mammals on Earth, and it's very, very toxic, and they knew this. A lawsuit forced them to reveal the documentation, and at one point they were poisoning the people in the factory town of Anniston, Alabama, at very high rates. They hired a consultant. When the consultant put a fish in the nearby stream, within 10 seconds the fish floated to the top dead, spurted blood, and lost its skin. So they knew that they were causing tremendous environmental damage. They knew they were causing health damage. And yet the memo circulated by a chief person about PCBs in response to the concerns was, we can't afford to lose $1 of business, end quote. They ended up getting convicted, and fined for $700 million. And they also got convicted of outrage. And outrage is an amazing Alabama law, which is the rare claim of outrage, typically requires conduct so outrageous in character and extreme in degree as to go beyond all possible bounds of decency, so as to be regarded as atrocious and utterly intolerable in civilized society. I mean, that has Monsanto's name all over it. They were also found, according to a researcher at the EPA, Monsanto, and this was not proven, so it's just alleged, they were hiding the toxicity of dioxin by rigging their research and switching over some people from the group that got cancer or disease to those that didn't. And some of their other sleight of hand ultimately prevented thousands of Vietnam vets from getting compensation for damage due to Agent Orange. And there's millions, of course, in Vietnam that have also been deprived of this justice. They also are promoted DDT, and so we know that they have generations of lying as part of their history. And yet, according to the current FDA policy, they are in charge of determining whether their GMOs are safe.
It's really frightening. Absolutely frightening. What has Vedanta Shiva said about this to you? What can you share with us?
Well, Vandana Shiva is a fantastic orator. She's a physicist. She's a seed saver. I visited her farm in India, where they have a fantastic seed bank. She is organizing on a very practical level ways in which the local farmers in India can resuscitate the biodiversity of seeds and then share their seeds with others, and to counter the damage from industrial agriculture. Before the Green Revolution, India had over 250,000 types of rice. That was shrunk down to basically a handful. There's a few hundred now that Vandana Shiva's seed-saving organization is making available. But that's 250,000 varieties gone down to virtually nothing. And so she's part of the solution to this issue. And she talks about, that food is more powerful than bombs, and seeds control food. So if you control the seeds, you control the food, you control the people. It's very much about control. And we can see that that kind of vicious mindset for Monsanto could easily be such that control of the population in terms of forcing them to feed Monsanto's pockets could be an easy outcome of their plans.
One of my greatest fears is the food safety bill that's been introduced to Congress. I don't understand it, but part of it has to do with not allowing us to grow gardens, to grow your own food. It's really scary. So I think that there's many tentacles of the agenda of Monsanto that are coming to Congress and the Senate through different faces, different aspects of getting this thing tied down so that they own and control everything.
It's something that they've done all over the world. I've traveled to 32 countries, and I've seen so many countries hijacked by Monsanto, where Monsanto's people write the laws in, and they actually create ways that the regulators can give a green light, kind of a rubber stamp to the GMOs without proper evaluation. I've seen it in India, I've seen it in Brazil, I've seen it in Europe, and of course the United States. So they're actually very skilled at manipulating governments and public opinion. Much more skilled they are than manipulating the DNA.
Do you really think it's skilled in manipulating governments, or is it skilled in working with governments? Because it sounds like the governments are also complicit and our leaders are complicit.
I've had some experience with government leaders, some of whom were completely complicit, and they generally don't meet with me. Those that are independent do. I've met with presidents and cabinet members and hundreds of parliamentarians, senators, and congressmen. And one guy, for example, who was responsible for the decisions of whether to approve GMOs for his country, when he took the position, he was immediately wooed by Monsanto. And one of the first things they told him was, you should be getting a high-paying job from Monsanto soon after you regulate GMOs into your country. So they were basically offering him this kind of bribe where if he goes along with it, he will end up making a lot of money working for Monsanto.
We're really talking about the food mafia, are we not? The consciousness that's moving Monsanto. If you want to own and control everything, what is that? And if
let's say clearly it's an organized crime.
Yes.
It's an organized crime against humanity. It's an organized crime against nature. And it is a situation where all future generations will have to deal with our folly, because this is the nature of genetics. We are manipulating the most fundamental level of biology, and we don't have a clue. Most of the assumptions that were used as the basis for safety claims when GMOs were put forward have already been proven false. Every few months we discover more about the DNA so that we change our definition of the gene. We originally thought that one gene created one protein, created one trait. In fact, genes operate as networks, and the whole foundation of genetic engineering, this concept of the central dogma of one gene, one trait, was completely collapsed when the Human Genome Project announced how few genes they actually found in human beings. And yet, even though the foundational assumptions about biotechnology have been proven false, because it's already on the market, they don't reevaluate it from scratch. They simply incrementally lie, distort, and deny. And right now, the amount of evidence that they have to try and deny is so overwhelming, it is easy to convince virtually any open-minded person that GMOs are unsafe. I go and speak to doctors' conferences all the time, and I do a pre- and post-test hand raise about how vigilant people are about avoiding GMOs, rating themselves from 1 to 100. It turns out, within a single lecture, within 30 minutes, an entire room of doctors can all of a sudden become absolutely vigilant to avoid GMOs.
I think this is also what happened to the bees, the honeybees. certain forms